Well, I think it's a very good morning or good afternoon, depends on where you are, and welcome from Cheltenham, Gloucestershire, UK, the world, wherever you are. And welcome to our mortgage Livestream. And I'm Paul Archer, which you can see by my name just below there, so it's a bit obvious who I am, really. No. Enough of that. Welcome to our 25 minutes of updates on mortgages and CMAPs and exams and equity release and all those good things for you. Keep you up to speed with your mortgage CPD. So let's get cracking with the latest. What's been going on? Not a lot really. I always say that, don't I? But not a lot's really happened, to be quite honest with you. What we have seen though are some different changes at the top with lending. Lenders are still being a little bit cautious at the moment, and rightly so, because they're lending their money at the end of the day, and they've got to be careful of repossessions, etc. So they're a bit cautious on what they'll lend. Particularly the high percentage lending is being very cautious sitting up there. The Nationwide have even put restrictions on where your deposit can come from now. The high level of loan to value lending, 90%. If the money comes purely from parents, they're not happy about that. So you wonder about that, don't you, really? But such is life. Very, very difficult, isn't it? Landlords are having a great time with this stamp duty embargo. Though they've got to pay the 3%, they still do get a reduction down below on the property market. But enough of that. Let's get on to our first major topic today. I want to talk about care homes, actually. Because for those of you doing equity release exams, those of you interested in the topic, or even CMAP, of course, long-term care creeps into the exam syllabus then. So I want to talk about that for you in the next 10-15 minutes. Got a nice big session on it for you, really. And the subject of this one is paying for care home costs. So let's put the title up to start with. Let's put it on the top of the board so that you can see this one. We're talking about paying for residential care. Paying for residential care. That's a title, isn't it? Paying for your residential care. Basically, who's coughing up the dough to pay for your nursing home, really, is what we're doing. Now, for those of you involved in the equity release market or in financial services, advice, etc., you do really need to have a good handle on this, and people have heard about the 23,000 mark, but people don't really know what goes on. I was talking to a lady this morning who used to work for the council. It's very interesting what actually is happening. So let's talk about this. Well, first of all, it's based upon a law. The Care Home Act of 2014 is the latest law that judges what can and can't go on. So that's just by and by, really, isn't it? Care home we're talking about here. We're talking about living on your own and then going into a home, a full-time permanent care home or nursing home. There is a difference between the two, but for all intents and purposes we'll regard them as the same thing, because a care home cares for you, a nursing home gives you nursing care as well. The two, of course, can combine as well. The first thing that's happening here is, if you do need to have care, is that the council will get involved in assessing your needs. So the first thing they do, and we'll get this wrong, is what they call an assessment of needs. So let's put the thing there for you. An assessment of needs. Now this is very similar to the products that we sell in this business. The types of products such as long-term care insurance. Some of the accident, sickness, unemployment insurance, where they check to see that you actually need the product to be paid. And here what they're doing here is that they're looking at activities of daily living. They assess you to see whether you do actually need care. Because you're living at home, quite rightly, and you may have somebody coming in once or twice a week to sort of look after you, etc. Family maybe, or you pay for that. But it's get to the stage now where you can't actually stay at home and look after yourself, even with care coming in, Meals on Wheels, whatever it is, to look after you. So that's where we're at with this one. They also look at alternative care arrangements as well when they're assessing your needs. Maybe sheltered accommodation might be right for you. You don't have to have a care home. Maybe sheltered housing might be right for you. If you've got a property worth a few bob, then you could certainly move into some sort of warden-assisted care home, over 50s retirement property. The kind of thing you see Churchill, people like that building and promoting in town. We've got loads here in Cheltenham where people have warden assisted, or just properties, they're perfectly okay on their own. They're just like looked after in a sort of community, and there's nothing wrong with that. In Holland they do the same thing, some really good stuff going on there. But if it's quite clear that you do need long-term care, you do need a care home to look after you, they then carry out a financial assessment. So let's put that one up here for you. The financial assessment. Because what they're wanting to do is to see if you can afford to pay for it or not. That's pretty much what comes down to the financial assessment. So let's put these sort of terms up on the board for you. Now, the first thing they're going to do with a financial assessment is they're going to check your income and your capital. So how much are you earning on a regular basis, and how much have you got in the bank? Now, they're looking at things that you own yourself. They're not looking at other assets which are owned by other people in your sort of network. If it's a jointly held asset, they will assume it's half. So they'll take half the value of things that you own jointly. And what they're looking for is the amount of capital to start with. And the key figure here, and you've probably heard this figure before, it's still quite relevant, is 23,000. This is England, of course, £23,250. They're looking for that amount of capital. Quite simply, if you've got capital, assets, whatever that is, worth more than £23,250, you've got to stump up for the cost of your care. You've got to sell that asset and pay for the care. And we'll show you in a second how you do that. Bit obvious, really, isn't it? If you've got slightly less than that, if you've got between 14,000, get the actual figure for you, 14,250 up to 23,250. So in other words, you've got capital, but not quite as much as the 23. So it is going to be paid for you. That's the whole point behind it. And what they'll do then is they'll assume some of that capital and they're going to turn it into income, just like they do with pensions, credit and stuff like that. And what they basically do there is they take, for every 250 quid in between those two figures, they assume you've got another £1 in income. And that's particularly important because when it comes to actually paying for your long-term care, the council don't pay at all. They take off your income that you're earning as a result of that. So that adds to your income as well. Now, the kind of things that's ignored, capital that's ignored, are things like stuff that's in trust, for example, or bonds, insurance bonds. Are ignored as well because they have a life assurance element. They don't actually regard those as capital. You have to look at the detail, of course. If you own a property and your spouse still lives in that property, you've got to go into care, but they live in the property, then the property is therefore not taken into account, and rightfully so, because the spouse has got to live somewhere, haven't they? So that's the main element in that respect as well. That's capital, first thing. The next thing they're going to do is work out your income. Because just because you go into a home doesn't mean your income stops. You may still get some kind of income, and they want to be working this out. So let's squeeze this one over here, shall we, in this little section here, because what they're going to do is work out your income. So let's just put that one over across there for you. Now, what they do is they work out on a weekly basis, because that's how they roll, isn't it, when it comes to things like welfare benefits. And they're going to work out your personal budget. Now, your personal budget is pretty much how much it's going to cost for you to be looked after. So your personal budget is, cost of all your home, etc. They want to work out what that is shortly. And what they're basically looking to do here is to see that your income doesn't exceed that personal budget. Because if it does, then you become a self-funder. Bit obvious, really, isn't it? If the budget to pay for your care home, etc. is there, and your income is up here, then you can afford to pay for it yourself. Okay, you haven't got the capital, but you've got the income to pay for it. So they want to work out that, and that makes sense, really, at the end of the day. Now, lots of income is ignored, because obviously what they're working out, lots of income is ignored for this calculation. So, for example, like war pensions, paid in the event of war damage, that sort of thing, is ignored as well. And that's absolutely the right thing to do. So that's income. A couple other quick things on there. First of all, social security benefits. They expect you to claim for all the social security that you can. We're talking there about your welfare benefits, aren't we? So if you're not claiming all your welfare benefits, they want you to claim those because that comes from central government effectively, doesn't it? Remember, we're working out the income here to see that it exceeds the personal budget. So, if you're not claiming for your pensions credit, you need to claim for it. If you're not claiming for care allowance, that sort of thing, personal independence, you've got to claim for all the various disability allowances along the way. And that makes sense, really, doesn't it? The last thing for you, probably mentioned before, is when it comes to assets that you own, is careful that you haven't deliberately deprive the council of any assets here, because they want to work out what you've got money in the bank. If you deliberately deprive the council of any assets, they will come after you. They call this deliberate asset deprivation. Lovely phrase that, isn't it? So the biggest example is you've passed the house over to your children. You put them on the deeds a couple of years ago to avoid care home costs. You don't get away with that. The council aren't stupid. They can look at the details. They know what's going on. And if you deliberately deprive the council of any assets, they will come after you and insist that the house is sold and used to boost your capital, and therefore you won't qualify to actually get any money as well. And that kind of makes sense, doesn't it? So we've got the income then. We've got all the income that you've got coming in. We've got the budget that's going to cost, if you like, the total cost of care. The next thing they want to work out is your personal expense allowance. Now, the personal expense allowance is how much you're allowed to receive effectively. Let's put this over here, shall we? Your personal expense allowance. Personal expenses. Personal expenses. This is the amount of money that you can have in order to pay for whatever you need to buy whilst you're in the care home. It's £24.90 at the moment. Don't worry too much about that figure. That's the weekly figure that you're entitled to receive from your income. See, what they're doing here is they're going to work out your income, and they're going to use that income to pay for the home, but they're going to keep £24.90 back for your bits and pieces that you need to survive on. And you've got to think about these things. Some people still smoke, for example. Some people like vaping, whatever it is, a bit of chocolate, some goodies, some nice life's luxuries, if you like. It's not a lot of money though, is there, at the end of the day? And it's at that point then that the local authority will do the financial or the final calculation. They've got the capital, they've got your income, they now need to work out how much they're going to have to pay and how much you should contribute, and they need to do this assessment in writing. So let's just take a look at an example, shall we? Let's just rub this all off, and we'll take a quick look at an example to see how this works for you. Just a sort of basic example. And I've just made up a few figures really just to give you an idea of where we're going with this one. Let's just say that we have a customer who's got some income. A client probably. Let's say they've got their state pension, and the state pension, say, is bringing in, say, £125. And let's say they've got a personal pension as well, PPP, and the personal pension is bringing in, say, £100 per week. Obviously, there's no pensions credit there because of the limits as well. And let's say they've got some capital between the 14,000 mark and the 23. So we worked out some extra income, if you like, from capital, and we'll say this is 10 quid, which is not a lot of money, is it? So total income then is £235. That's the income they're making as well. Now remember, they're entitled to personal expenses, if you like. So if we deduct the, can we squeeze this down here? I'll probably put it just up there for you. So we deduct the personal expenses, so that's £24.90. So that gives us a total income then in which of £210 and 10 pence. Now on the other side of the coin, give a different colour pen here, the council have calculated that your cost of care, if you like, is for your neck of the woods and for your needs, etc. They do all that for you. Is £650 per week. Yes, it's not cheap, is it? Now that care cost, therefore, is what it's going to cost. Now you've actually going to contribute some as well. So let's take away your bit, £210.10, and that then leaves the council having to cough up £439.90. I'm going to make it. Call it 440 quid for friends, and that's pretty much how it works. The council therefore are going to have to contribute to the costs. So let's take a look at how this is then paid. Now the council, of course, have chosen the type of accommodation that you need and the amount of money that it's going to cost, and they choose some homes they got on under contract. Now you're quite entitled to choose as well. That's when your children, of course, go around choosing your care home. They say that, don't they? That you look after your children, but they always choose your care home for you. If you want to choose another care home, you can. You have to make sure the council's able to contract with that care home, because obviously they've got to check them out, etc. And if it costs more money, then you have to pay that yourself. But obviously you're not, because your money's taken into account here. So any contribution would come from your children typically, or somebody else that's willing to make a top up as well, not you. So that's, if you choose a home that costs a bit more money, then it has to be paid for by your children. How are payments paid and received? Well, the local authority has the contract with the care home, naturally, so they pay the cost in full, which makes absolute sense. And they then collect the money from you, so all your pension income gets redirected straight to the council for them to receive that money. If there's any third-party contribution from your children, that gets paid to the council as well. So they do all the paying. So you see, it's quite labour-intensive along the way. The NHS will pay the costs of any nursing care or medicines and things like that. They will pay for that. The medicines, the visits from the doctors, etc. That's all covered as well. Sometimes the NHS might actually pay the care home costs as well. If you have a primary health need, for example, but you obviously have to check that out. Sometimes the NHS will use a care home for rehabilitation. So if you've had a major operation, they might put you in a care home for 6 to 12 weeks or something to rehabilitate, and they'll look after you and they'll pay the bill then as well, which makes absolute sense. So the NHS do have, if you like, some funds in which they will sometimes make payments, and they'll pay straight to the care home as well along the way. Remember earlier, if you're self-funding this, then your assets, of course, are more than £24,250. You're self-funding it yourself. You have to pay it, and that's fair play. Obviously, when your money runs out, the council then will come along and do a needs assessment. So if you've got loads of money in the bank, you've got to use that to pay for the care home. But when that money comes down to below the limit, you apply to the council for a needs assessment, and they will do all this palaver to see how much they're going to contribute as well. The other thing to think about, of course, is the private sector. If you're lucky enough to pay into a care home sort of long-term care plan, you can start saving for this. People should, I suppose. Not they do, there's no plans around. But you can pay monthly towards building up a capital sum, which is designed to pay for your care. And you can buy what's called an immediate needs annuity. Now, an immediate needs annuity is just like any other annuity, but it pays a sum of money directly to the care home provider, and you get that paid tax-free, so that's a pretty good advantage. If you've been able to either save your money or you've got a load of money in the bank, you basically buy an annuity which pays the care home money until you die. You may well be better off just letting the money run away until you've got nothing left and you get the council to pick up the tab. So that's broadly then how residential care is paid for. I hope that's been useful. Bye. There you go. Nice big topic that one, wasn't it? Cool, we ran that for a good 15 or so minutes, didn't we? So not much more to add there on that topic. Hope that's been of use to you. I'm sure it has been. Just want to sort of give you something else, just to sort of send you off in the right sort of manner, really. And that's a little sales tip for you I want to leave you with. If you're in the mortgage business or in the financial services business, you may not regard yourself as a salesperson, but you have to sell. Let's not be too modest about this. You have to sell, and that's what life's about, isn't it? And I want to talk here about scarcity as a sort of an influencing technique. It comes from Robert Cialdini. I want to talk about sunshine and scarcity. The reason for that is that this weekend we had some pretty good weather, and I was outside there doing my reading in the afternoon, catching some sunshine. And it's amazing, isn't it, that sunshine is a lovely thing to enjoy, but you enjoy it more if you know it's not going to be there forever. Now, the typical UK sunshine, it's never there forever, is it? I've seen people in Spain, for example, in North Africa this time of year. Sun shines every day, every month for the whole summer. You never get any cloud, but in this country, you'll be lucky to get sunshine for a couple of hours and then it'll cloud over and then we get storms or whatever it is. And that's the whole point behind it. You see, something is more valuable if you know it's not going to be there for very much longer, or if it's scarce, or if it's been rationed, Or if you've given something and then it's taken away, it appears more valuable, more desirable. And that's the concept I want to talk about here, because it makes sense, doesn't it? I mean, I was watching this young couple on LinkedIn, and they would normally have their holiday in Spain. Of course, with the quarantine, they can't go there. So there was a photograph of them in the Lake District with this great big cagoule on, of these anoraks, the rain howling around them, saying what a lovely time they were having. I'm sure they were. But of course, if the sun came out for a couple of hours, they would be well pleased about that, and they would enjoy it more. So think about your own product. If you're a financial advisor, mortgage advisor, equity release advisor, how do you make your product, your service more valuable? You make it scarce. And you can do this, for example, by not letting everybody have a bite of it, really. You may only be able to take on 50 clients a year. And if somebody wants your business, just tell them, you only take on 50 clients a year because you like to give the right service. And we're getting close to the 50 mark, so I may not be able to accept you as a client. And then it just turns everything completely on its head, rather than being desperate for every new piece of business you can get hold of. Ration the time with people. Obviously charge for your time, of course you should. If somebody wants sort of extra time, ration it. Be aware that you can only spend 20 minutes. Or if it's a meeting with somebody, I can only spare 10 minutes. Makes it more scarce, makes it more desirable as well. Be prepared to walk away from any deals that you do when it comes to negotiating. If somebody's shopping around, say they contact you and you say to me, who else have you spoken to about your mortgage? And they say, well, actually, I'm talking to such and such and such and such. Just turn around and say, well, possibly I'm not right for you. I'm not right for everybody, and you carry on shopping around. I'm not really ready to take your business. Be prepared to walk away. It just makes you, oh really? I wonder why that person wants to. He's obviously very good at what he does. So be confident in that ability to make it scarce as well. And today, by the way, it's mostly cloudy out there. Just looking outside, we got clouds again. We had a bit of sunshine yesterday. We might get a little bit more. If it does shine this afternoon, I might nip out there because I know it's going to go away. Therefore, it's more valuable to me. So that's a little sort of sales tip for you: scarcity and sunshine. I hope you've enjoyed that one. Bye. There we go. Kind of wraps up our live stream today. Hope everybody is well. Remember, you've got the Advisor CPD website down there. You get all updates and stuff like that. Got a new boot camp starting in September. The Archer Training is the website where you can find out about our CMAP boot camp and our equity release boot camp as well. So lots of video learning to help you through the syllabus. So contact me in any way you can if you want to find out more about it. Subscribe down below, of course, if you're on YouTube. That way you get updates and things and new videos and stuff that's coming on. Lovely to hear from any of you that want to make any comments, as long as it's a sensible comment. Some people put silly comments on YouTube, don't they? But make sure it's a sensible one. And we'll be happy to talk and chat. And other than that, I'll see you all next week. Bye.